voltage. Now this is a very, very important term, guys. PIV. What is the meaning of the PIV? Just watch this example. Right now, we are connecting a diode here. This is RL, this is V0, this is VI. Okay. Suppose the VI is 10 sine omega t. 10 sine omega t means this is the VIV, 10 sine omega t. So during positive half, when the VI is greater than 0, during positive half when the VI is greater than 0, what about the diode? On. Definitely it is on, because it is positive, it is on. It will act as short circuit and you will get this type of circuit. And in that case, output is exactly replica of the input. Output is exactly replica of the input. So what is the highest value of the output? 10 volt. So you will get the exactly replica of the input. And what is the drop across the diode? 0. Ideally it is 0. But you can find the current. What is the maximum current through the diode? So when it is forward bias, you have to find the maximum current through the diode. What is the maximum current through the diode? That is given by maximum value of the input, max upon what? RL. If the maximum value of the input 10 and RL is 1 kilo ohm, then it will become 10 milliampere. This is an important parameter, guys. What is the maximum current through the diode when it is forward biased? When it is forward biased, that is given by VI maximum upon RL, that is nothing but VM upon RL. So when the diode is forward biased, you have to find what is the maximum current through the diode. But when the diode is reverse biased, when it is less than 0, diode is off. Now this is an important parameter, guys. When the diode is off, diode will act as open circuit. What is the current here? 0. What is the output voltage? 0. So output voltage is 0. Then like this is the maximum value of the input is what? Plus 10, minus 10. So we can apply like this, minus 10. So when the, or generalized, in a generalized time, watch always this, if it is generalized, it is VI is given, it is positive or negative, general. But in a reverse bias, it acts as what? Open circuit. Then the complete voltage will come across what? Diode. Complete voltage will come across the diode. So what is the VD is equal to what? VI. But what is the value of the VI? Negative. Minus 10. What is the highest value of the VI? Minus 10, because it is a negative half cycle. Then the complete voltage will come across what? Complete voltage will come across diode in a reverse direction. Watch this diagram. This diode acts as open circuit. What is the highest value in reverse direction? 10 volts. This complete voltage will come across the diode, 10 volt. Now the diode is reverse biased by what? 10 volt. Diode is reverse biased by 10 volt. And that is called what? Peak inverse voltage. Peak inverse voltage. That what is the definition? The maximum voltage appearing across the diode when the diode is reverse bias, or that is the when it is reverse bias, when it is not conducting. So what is the ideal situation for rectification? When it is forward bias, diode should act as what? Short circuit. Or when it is reverse bias, it should act as what? open circuit. It should not allow the current. It should not allow the current, so that we are going to find what uniform waveform or unidirectional waveform. For positive half, it will act as short circuit. For negative half, it will act as open circuit. And that's why, what is the output here? Like this. And you will get the perfect unidirectional waveform. So, if suppose the peak inverse voltage is 10 volt appearing across the diode in a reverse direction, so up to 10 volt, what you want? Diode should not allow current in reverse direction. Should not allow current in reverse direction means, because if you are giving the 10 volt, or if there is a breakdown, then so this is the characteristics of the diode, ideal diode. When it is forward bias, it will act as short circuit. Current increases but drop across the voltage when not increases. When it is reverse bias, it will act as what? Open circuit. Voltage increases but current not increases, but it has some breakdown voltage. After that, it will allow the current in reverse direction. Right now, this is called breakdown voltage VZ. Now, we are calculating the PIV. We are calculating the PIV on paper, right? We are calculating the PIV on paper, guys. Paper means, suppose we are applying the 10 sin omega t, let we have the idea about the input. For forward bias, it will act as short circuit, it will pass the input signal. For reverse bias, it should stop the input signal. Then what is the drop across the RL? 0. The complete voltage will come across diode in reverse direction. Complete voltage will come across the diode in a reverse direction, always remember. Why? Because there is no current. What is the drop across the RL? 0. The complete voltage will come across the diode in a reverse direction. And what is the maximum voltage? 10 volt. So it is reverse bias by the maximum negative value of the VI. And what is the maximum negative value of the VI? Minus 10. Now it is on paper. Up to 10 volt, it should not break down. It should not allow the current. Now, we will go to market to purchase the diode. Okay. Now, we will go to the market and just to purchase the market. And ask the shopkeeper to give one diode just to design rectifier. Then, shopkeeper will ask, what should be the breakdown rating of that particular diode? Then always remember, if the PIV appearing across the diode is 10 volt, then the breakdown voltage should be greater than that. Suppose the PIV occurring at that diode is 10 volt, then what should be the breakdown voltage? More than that. For example, PIV appearing is the 10 volt and breakdown voltage is 12 volt. No problem. No problem. Because up to 10 volt, diode will not allow the current. And what is the maximum voltage appearing across the diode? 10 volt. Finished. But suppose if the breakdown voltage is 5 volt, then tell me, suppose the breakdown voltage PIV appearing across the diode is 10 volt and the breakdown voltage is 5 volt, then what will happen? And PIV is what? 10 volt. My dear friend, before occurring the 10 volt, at the 5 volt it will break down. And it will allow the current in what? Reverse direction. And the circuit will not work like rectifier. So always remember, on paper we are calculating what is the maximum voltage appearing across the diode when the diode is reverse bias, and according to which we are what? We are selecting the diode on the basis of PIV rating. And the breakdown voltage should be always greater than or equal to what? PIV. Peak inverse voltage. Inverse voltage appearing across the diode. Okay? This point is clear. This point is now clear. So for example, this is the example here, 10 volt, 10 sin omega t. So what is the voltage appearing across the diode? 10 in reverse direction. Now, just I am giving you one example. Suppose I am going to apply here tell me what is the PIV of the diode? What is the voltage appearing across the diode when the diode is reverse bias? What is the PIV appearing across the diode? Tell me. Always remember PIV means peak inverse voltage, peak voltage appearing across the diode when the diode is reverse bias. Reverse bias. So here you have to find the PIV of the diode. Diode means peak inverse voltage appearing across the diode when the diode is reverse bias. So always remember, first of all, what is the peak inverse voltage? You can write like this, 20 volt in a reverse direction, negative value. And then that complete voltage will come across the diode when the diode is reverse bias. And that is the PIV. So what is the PIV here? 20 volt. PIV is 20 volt. PIV is what? 20 volt. Is it clear? Okay. What is the PIV appearing across the diode? 20 volt. So up to 20 volt it should not be breakdown. Up to 20 volt it should not allow the current. Otherwise, in the reverse direction, if there is a current, circuit will not work. So what should be the breakdown voltage? Tell me. 20 volt or more than 20 volt. If the PIV appearing across the diode is 20 volt, then what should be the breakdown voltage? More than 20 volt. For example, it is 21 volt. So up to 21 volt, there is no problem. But for example, if you have the diode which has the breakdown voltage only 11 volt, then that circuit will work, yes or no? No. For example, in this particular question, no doubt the PIV appearing across the diode is 20 volt, but we have one diode which has the breakdown voltage 11 volt. Can we connect this diode? Can we connect this diode? We can't connect. Why? The breakdown voltage is in 11 volt, and what is the appearing? 20 volt. It will break down. It will allow the current in reverse direction, and we are getting the output. But when it is reverse bias, there should be no output. During reverse bias, no output we want, but it will break down and it will allow the current. If the 11 volt is the breakdown voltage, and what is the PIV? 20 volt. It will not work. Breakdown voltage is less than what? PIV. Therefore, it is not a diode, can't be used. We can't use the diode. Then how? If suppose PIV, how we can reduce the PIV then? So we can reduce the PIV. PIV means maximum voltage appearing across the diode when the diode is reverse bias. So you can connect two diodes in series, guys. You can connect two diodes in series like this. Now here we are giving the 20 sine of omega t. So when it is a forward bias, both the diodes are on. When during the positive half, both the diodes are on and output is exactly replica of the input. During the positive half, there is no problem. But during negative half, what is the output voltage? 0. Why? Because there is no current. 20 volt. Now this 20 volt will appear across the two diodes. So what is the voltage across the single diode? Because both are act as open circuit, so they are similar diodes. So what is the appearing across the single diode? 10 volt, 10 volt. 10 volt, 10 volt. So we can say what is the PIV of single diode? What is the PIV of single diode? 10 volt. PIV means voltage appearing across the diode when the diode is reverse biased. So we have reduced the PIV by connecting the two diodes in series. Now again go to the market. Again diodes are available with breakdown voltage what? 11 volt. Yes, okay. Why? Because the breakdown voltage should be greater than or equal to what? PIV. Or PIV should be less than or equal to breakdown voltage. Now it is PIV. So now you can use that diode. But how many diodes is required? How many diodes are required? 2 diodes are required. What is the rating of this diode? 11 volt. What is the rating of this diode? 11 volt. What is the appearing? 10 volt, 10 volt, and that's why there is no problem. So in this way we can reduce PIV, peak inverse voltage or peak voltage appearing across the diode. So initially when we have used the one diode, what is the voltage appearing across the diode? 20 volt. When we are using the two diode with the same input, what is the voltage appearing at diode? 10 volt, and that's why the PIV is 10 volt. Suppose we are using 4 diodes in series. Tell me what is the PIV? Tell me what will be the PIV? Suppose in place of 2 diodes, I am going to use the 4 diodes. Then what is the PIV? 1, 2, 3, 4. So when it is forward bias, all the diodes will act as short circuit. When it is reverse bias, then all the diode will act as what? Open circuit. Tell me, what is the PIV? What is the PIV then? Any idea? So 4 diodes in series. Here it is a 20 volt in reverse direction. What is the PIV? So when we are connecting the word diode, 20 volt will come across the one diode. PIV will become 20 volt. When we are connecting the 2 diode, the 20 volt will come across the 2 diode, and across single diode it will be half if the diodes are identical. Then if suppose we are going to connect the 4 diodes, then what will be the PIV? Okay, tell me, very basic question. Okay. If the 4 diodes are connected, the 20 volt will shared among them, all the 4 diodes. So what is the voltage coming across the single diode? The answer is what? 20 divided by 4. So what is the voltage across the single diode? 5 volt. Then what should be the breakdown voltage? The breakdown voltage should be greater than or equal to 5 volt. The breakdown voltage should be greater than or equal to what? 5 volt. What is the total voltage across 20 volt? What is the voltage appearing across the single diode? 5 volt. Yes. Now you will go to market and ask shopkeeper to give me the 4 diodes, and the breakdown voltage should be greater than what? 5 volt. Always remember, the breakdown voltage means VZ should be greater than or equal to PIV. Or you can say the PIV rating, PIV should be less than or equal to what? Breakdown voltage, for proper functioning of the circuit. So in this case, the PIV rating, breakdown voltage should be greater than or equal to what? 5 volt. So how we can reduce the PIV? By connecting diodes in what series? We can reduce the PIV. Okay. So this is a very, very simple question. This is a very important concept. Now, so we are reducing the PIV. For example, we are connecting the number of diodes and we are reducing the PIV. Okay. So what is the problem here? There is one problem. For example, there is a single diode. When it is a, for example, we are giving the 20 sin omega t. So what is the PIV? 20 volt, high value. Now, if you are considering the practical diode, what is the drop across the diode when the diode is forward bias? 0.7 volt. What is the drop across the diode when the diode is forward biased? 0.7 volt, guys. We are just ignoring this drop, 0.7 volt. That is called the cut-in voltage or just knee voltage, and that is the 0.7. It will take 0.7 volt when it is forward biased. So actually, what is the maximum value of the output? The maximum value of the output is 20 minus 0.7. 20 minus 0.7, because ideally it is 20 volt, but practically it is what? 20 minus 0.7. Okay, no problem. Suppose you are using the two diodes, then tell me what will be the maximum value of the output voltage. Suppose you are going to connect the two diodes, no doubt the PIV will reduce. PIV will become what? 20 divided by 2, that is the 10 volt. But what is the cut-in voltage required when it is forward bias? The cut-in voltage required when it is forward bias, it will become what? 2 times. 2 times of the cut-in voltage of the single diode. Cut-in voltage. Matlab minimum voltage required just for conduction, it will become 2 times of V gamma. For example, 2 into 0.7, it will become 1.4 volt. Increases. For example, if you are connecting the 4 diodes in a series, then tell me what is the PIV? This is the 20 sine of omega t. Same input we are giving, 20 sine of omega t. The PIV will become 20 divided by 4. What is the advantage? PIV is very low. PIV is very low, because on the basis of that we can choose the diode. But what is the cut-in voltage? Tell me. Now what is the cut-in voltage? Tell me. For single diode, 0.7 is required. Then for 4 diodes, how much voltage is required? When one is forward bias, 0.7, then 0.7, then 0.7, then 0.7. So how much voltage is wastage when it is forward bias? 0.7 plus 0.7 plus 0.7 plus 0.7, total 2.8. What is the maximum value of the output voltage? Will become 20 minus 2.8. That is 17.2 volt. What is the 2.8 volt? Cut-in voltage will become 2.8 volt. So what is the solution here? When we are increasing the number of diodes, the PIV will reduce, so that we can choose the diode with the lower value of the breakdown voltage, but at the same time cut-in voltage increases when the diode is forward biased. Okay, is it clear? This is the advantage and disadvantage and solution. What is the PIV? I think now the concept of PIV is crystal clear here. Concept of PIV is crystal clear. So in interview there will be question, what do you mean by the PIV? On paper actually we are doing the calculation. What we are doing the calculation, just what is the maximum voltage appearing across the diode when the diode is reverse bias, and on the basis of that PIV we are selecting the diode. If suppose it is not possible to select the diode up to that range, then we can reduce the PIV by connecting what? Extra diodes. 2 diodes in series, 4 diodes in series, 6 diodes in series. But remember, when we are increasing the number of diodes, the cut-in voltage, that is the drop across the diode when the diodes are forward biased, will increase. That is the drawback. This is the disadvantage. Cut-in voltage is 0.7 volt, cut-in voltage is 1.4, then 2.8. Okay. I think that concept is clear. What is the PIV? PIV is defined as maximum voltage appearing across the diode when the diode is reverse biased, and diode is selected on the basis of PIV rating. Remember, this is a note. Diode is selected on basis of PIV rating. right? If you have the PIV rating, then always remember the breakdown voltage should be greater than or equal to PIV. PIV. Okay.